This is the trajectory of 19th century London. In 1801, the city held roughly 1 million residents. By the 1890s, that curve climbs sharply upward, surging past 5.5 million. This growth was fueled by London's position as the primary engine of global trade. The Bank of England sat at the center of a financial nexus that managed over £20 million in gold reserves and directed the capital of an entire empire. But the city's physical capacity was failing. The Port of London was a bottleneck, where sailors often waited a week just to offload. By 1880, the docks were struggling to process 8 million tons of goods a year, relying on an immense army of precarious manual labor to keep the gears of commerce turning. Daily life for the residents was defined by filth and danger. Streets were buried under 1,000 tons of horse dung every 24 hours, while sulfur from millions of coal fires mixed with river vapor to create an acrid mist, the pea super, that could entirely blind the city for days. London was being strangled by its own success. Its ancient patchwork of parish governments was incapable of managing an industrial giant, creating a collapse that could only be solved by reinventing the way a city exists. By mid-century, the surface streets reached a state of total paralysis. Thousands of omnibuses and cabs fought for inches of space, turning the simple act of crossing the city into a multi-hour ordeal. To break the deadlock, planners proposed something never attempted on this scale, moving the city's transit capacity below the foundations of the buildings themselves. This was achieved through cut-and-cover engineering. Workers dug massive trenches directly into existing roads, built reinforced brick vaults to house the tracks, and then filled the earth back in until the street was restored. The Metropolitan Railway opened in 1863, using steam locomotives to pull these open wooden cars through the gaslit tunnels. In its first year, it proved the concept by moving nearly 10 million people beneath the congestion. This shift established a new rule for urban planning. A city's efficiency was no longer tied to its surface area, but to how well it could be engineered in 3 dimensions. While the trains moved people, the ground itself remained a source of mass death. 200,000 open cesspools routinely leaked into the Thames, the primary source of drinking water. In the East End, cholera was a constant threat, and 1 in 5 children died before their first birthday. The turning point came in 1858 with the Great Stink. A heat wave evaporated the river, exposing miles of raw sewage, and creating a smell so powerful it forced Parliament to abandon its chambers. The legislative deadlock broke because the air itself had become uninhabitable. The government turned to Joseph Bazalgette. He was commissioned to build a system that would intercept the waste of millions and carry it far beyond the city limits before it reached the water supply. Bazalgette constructed a 1,300-mile network of subterranean sewers. To house the largest intercepting lines, he built the Victoria Embankment, reclaiming 37 acres of land from the Thames and encasing the new infrastructure in massive walls of grey granite. The project made large-scale sanitation a mandatory function of the state. By removing the source of the epidemics, London proved that a megacity's survival depended on its hidden collective infrastructure. Even as the sewers and trains began to function, the city remained a place of deep social friction. In the thick fogs and unlit alleys, millions of strangers lived in a state of constant, unregulated proximity. Order was established through 2 simultaneous interventions: the creation of a professional, citywide police force and the industrial-scale rollout of gas street lighting. By the 1840s, the city had installed 40,000 gas lamps, effectively reclaiming the night for commerce and travel. The presence of the bobbies and the constant glow of the streets turned London from a dangerous sprawl into a regulated civic space. These systems provided the invisible framework for urban life, creating a sense of safety and predictability that allowed millions of people to inhabit the same few square miles. By the late 19th century, London had become a massive, integrated machine. Structures like Tower Bridge represented the final stage of this evolution, a steel-framed marvel designed to keep the world's busiest port moving without halting internal flow. London's struggle provided the first evidence that a city of millions could be made habitable and productive. Its successes and failures created the template for the massive urbanization that now defines the global landscape. Today, the fastest-growing cities in the world are facing these same pressures. The crises of congestion and sanitation that nearly broke Victorian London are now the defining challenges for the 21st century megacity. The history of London shows that when a city reaches its breaking point, survival is not a matter of luck. It is a matter of the willingness to build at the scale of the crisis itself.